The sky-high price of a college degree is top of mind for so many families as they try to figure out how to pay for their children's education. The Department of Education says 43 million borrowers owe more than $1.6 trillion in federal and private student loan debt as of June of this year. Today, in our network-wide series, The American Classroom, we'll take a look at student loan debt. And joining us is Vivan Tu, a personal finance expert and CEO of your Rich BFF. That's, of course, short for your best friend forever. And as you saw just now, she is a TikTok star with over 2 million followers and has a new book coming out in December. Vivan, thanks so much for being here. Let's talk about the price of college. Obviously, incredibly expensive. When families are thinking about taking out loans, what should they be thinking about? What do you say to those students who are applying right now for schools?
You know, I think it mostly factors in on what is the return on investment of this college education. So when you are taking on that debt, I want you to think about things like, hey, would it be cheaper to go to a school that's in-state? Would it be better to major in something that I know I'm going to be able to make an income that allows me to pay back that student loan debt? And just being really mindful of what we're taking those student loans out for. Do we necessarily need to be studying abroad? Certainly it's an additive to an education, but we want to take all of these things into account when taking out these loans.
Once those loans are out, you've obviously got to pay them back. We know that borrowers are paying back their loans now for the first time in more than 3 years after that pandemic pause ended last month. What are you seeing from the young people you talk to, you interact with, about how they are able to make these payments?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a shell shock because for the first time, people are having to budget this payment back into their monthly outflow of their cash. This was money that they could previously use on expenses such as housing or food or even just entertainment, and now they're having to spend it on this student loan repayment. So I think people are certainly realizing that those payments are hurting their wallets a little bit more than they thought.
Right, a lot of financial trade-offs there. What advice do you have to those who feel like they're struggling to make their payments?
So unfortunately, as a lot of us know, student loan forgiveness, broadly speaking, is off the table. However, there have been some really momentous changes to student loan repayment. First and foremost, being income-driven repayment plans. Historically, the program was called Repay with an E at the end, and that program has now been replaced with something called Save. And with this program, not only are you able to pay a fraction of what you may previously have owed so that you are able to minimize that monthly burden, but the really big thing that people aren't realizing in the change of this income-driven repayment plan is that the incremental amount on your student loan debt that you don't have to pay is also not going to be accruing interest. What we've historically seen is that these loan balances are just ballooning, and now that won't be the case. So if you do qualify for income-driven repayment plans, I would say highly recommend look at it, see if you qualify.
That is such an important point. A lot of borrowers don't realize how that interest adds up, and they end up having so much more debt than they ever took out in the first place. When we're talking about the student loan crisis, Vivan, data shows time and time again that this disproportionately affects people of color. We've seen that the Education Department says that Black borrowers on average still owe 95% of their debt even 20 years after they first took out those loans. How can this, inequity even start to be addressed?
I think that upward economic mobility is a huge start. So not only is it important to be mindful as a Black borrower, but more so in the workplace afterwards, being able to really advocate for yourself. And the more folks of color, the more women, the more people in the LGBTQ community that we're putting into these higher level positions that are in managerial roles that are going to have decision-making power on what to pay other people is going to really slowly start to close that income gap. I think it's really important to advocate for yourself. I typically say ask for a 10 to 15% raise every single year. I'm not guaranteeing that you'll get it, but it is important to ask because if you don't, you're no better off than you were 20 seconds ago.
No harm in asking. I like that advice. We should all try to do that. A lot of people would be happy with a small percentage too. Vivan Tu, thank you so much for all of that helpful advice on student loans. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Her new book is called Rich AF.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.